Welcome back to KMI Community Connect. We are here to continue our discussion about carbohydrate metabolism. Before I proceed further into the storage part of the carbohydrate metabolism, which we covered partly last time, I would like to bring in another concept for you to have a better understanding. I have shown on a picture here about two opposing states in the body in the 24 hours. One is the fed state. I gave it with the daylight time, even if it ends at around 7 or 8 in the evening for 12 hours, and then the fasted state in the night in the dark. So the fasted state is the calories that we use in the night and later when we are fasting in the morning, and the fed state is the calories that we eat. So everything that we spoke last time, the dietary carbohydrates ingestion and the glucose that we take in, we spoke about this last time, about how the glucose comes in digested and goes into liver and muscle, 400 grams, which is about 1% of the fuel tank, and the rest of the 99% is the fat tank. We are still talking about only the carbohydrates that are metabolized and that are in excess of the 1% of the glucose tank and what happens to it. We are still not talking about fat ingestion. I am still focusing on the dietary carbohydrate ingestion. So for your convenience, what I did was I have put everything the same way, liver, muscle, and also I added the fat tissue by a separate depiction here. So the insulin is always going up and up and up to put the energy or the calories away into tissues. So I put liver here, which is 100 grams again, muscle, which is 300 to 350 sometimes, and what happens is I can give you an idea about this. The fat tissue, which is called adipose tissue, also I have depicted here. I will try to give you an analogy about, imagine all these storage compartments as various containers. So the top container is the liver, and then the next container is the muscle, the next container is the fat tissue. So anything that comes from one container to the other container in a normal person with normal metabolism, you can see how the energy slowly flows in different forms. But the moment the 100 and the 400 in the liver and the 100 and the 300 roughly in the muscle is full, it then goes into the fat tissue, which I put in here. Where is this fat tissue? This fat tissue is under the skin. So that is the first place where it accumulates. That is called subcutaneous, under the skin. Skin is the largest organ in our body and it expands. So the first place that it goes is the skin, and from there, once that is full, depending on the racial and ethnic variations about how much fat we can hold under the skin, there's a lot of variance based on the ethnic populations. From there it spills over, anything from there is spills over. That's all the extra energy which goes either in the form of fats or sometimes in the glucose, and again goes and collects into the visceral area, which is the fat that accumulates all around the organs, which is the belly fat. And then from there, as the excess energy still flows, the excess carbohydrates that we are talking about, it goes into what is called as the ectopic fat. Ectopic is that where it does not belong. That means it's almost like the fat that goes into areas where it should not go into. So I can give you another analogy. So imagine this liver, like last time when I spoke to you, as the front pocket, because energy is money, we gave that analogy. Muscle, we said, is the front and back pockets of the pant. The fat is, now the cash is done in the pockets, the fat tissue is the bank. Now you're going to the bank. So you can think the skin fat as your adipose, the adipose tissue fat under the skin, you can think as if it's your checking account. So depending on the on individuals' capacity and ethnic variations, your checking account can hold only some in some people, and a little bit more in some populations, and a lot more in some populations. That's what decides about the health of a person. So that's the checking account. Once your checking account is full and there's more excess energy, which is the glucose and carbohydrates that are spilling over, they are all converted into fats, and they go into the viscera, which is all the fat that you see around the organs. Now everything, this is all being done by insulin still. It keeps increasing and try to push it into the areas that it can put it away into the next areas. So this is the visceral fat. This visceral fat that it goes in from your checking account, you can say that this is like your savings account. So from the savings account, next it spills over. Now it is becoming into maybe even real estate, if you want to give that analogy. And then after that, as you have more and more, as it expands, the insulin then tries to put it away into ectopic fat, which is literally means a place where it does not belong, which means it is going inside the liver, inside the muscle, inside the pancreas, and then it is going into around the heart, inside the blood vessels, around the kidneys. So that is the ectopic fat. So I don't know if you want to call this, if you want to give the analogy in the bank terms or money terms, whether we could call this as a Swiss bank, but it is something that it doesn't belong to. So having said that, why is this so important about this ectopic fat and visceral fat? This is the real problem, the fat that is inside the cell in the muscle and inside the cell in the liver, the fatty liver and the intramyocellular fat in the muscle. That is where the problem comes, and that is the most critical and crucial thing that we want to talk about, especially today, being today is the World Diabetes Day. And I would like to talk about why is this so critical for all the metabolic problems and metabolic dysfunctions. It is not usually the fat that you see around, it is still a problem if you have it, but it is the fat that is inside the solid organs like muscle, liver and pancreas. That fat that is hidden, the ectopic fat, that is the dangerous fat that causes metabolic dysfunction. For all the metabolic names that we give, the heart disease, the cancers, the strokes, all the problems, reproductive issues, hormonal issues, every chronic metabolic disease, the problem starts with the hidden fat inside the cells, not in between the cells. The in between the cells fat is the fat that you can kind of compare it to the fat that you can see as the marbling in the steak or something. That is not the fat. The fat that's inside the cell is the problem. So today being the World Diabetes Day, I would like to talk more about these mechanisms of what is this interplay and how it goes wrong to lead to diabetes, and what is the dysfunction that is going to happen in the liver, muscle and the fat tissue when the insulin cannot play its role, and what the insulin does in excess when there is excess energy coming, and how the body kind of tries to put it away, causing metabolic dysfunction. So we will be talking to you more about extension of this, still about carbohydrate excess that is getting converted into fat, into all these tissues causing metabolic dysfunction, and the biggest problem that we face is diabetes. So I will see you very soon. Thank you.